Thank Hashem that we're able to learn. Because of our learning of the basic English. The Mishnah starts, we're starting from the Mishnah, right? Chamish Nashim. There's 5 women. Shenesavru bloody sayim. Their children get mixed up. They get mixed up in the what's it called in the hospital? Where they what's it called? The room, the nursery room. Well, Igdilu hataruvas v'nasu nashim u'mesu. They all grew up. 5 women had 5 children. They all grew up, and they got married. But then they passed away, all 5. Now, one fact that the Mishnah leaves out is that these women had other sons as well. Each one had another son. That's an important factor. Because they had other sons, now those sons
are prohibited.
They have a mitzvah of yibum for each of those wives. Only problem is we don't know which wife is the sister-in-law, because we don't know which one is the brother. So is there potential for anyone over here to do yibam? Or they just chalitza them all? So
What if they marry?
They marry, there could be a problem. The simple to simplify this whole story is that there's just one issue that we're dealing with, is that if it's not the right sister-in-law, then she's getting married without chalitza. It's called Yevamos Daf. Shuk is the marketplace. Right. The Yevamos is getting married without chalitza. So we have to make sure that we've resolved the chalitza issue before she marries someone that may not be her brother-in-law. So what do? Arba chaltzim lachas. These 4 brothers that we know who they are, we know who their mothers are. That's the main idea, is we know who the father is, right? Because it's for Yibam, it's the father that makes the difference. But whatever the case is, then once 4 brothers have done chalitza to each individual wife, you follow? 4 brothers have done chalitza to the first wife, let's say, to one woman. Now, the 5th brother can marry her. He can marry her. Why? Why can he marry her? Because let's say he's the brother-in-law, the actual brother of this woman's husband who has passed away. Okay, good. So he did yibam. Let's say he's not. Let's say he's the wrong one. Well, the right one has already done chalitza and she's muteres l'shuk. How do you know the right one is done? Because the other 4 individuals were siblings of the other 4 brothers. So it's either him, or if it's not him, chalitza was performed. That's easy. No. Yeah. Just look at it like this. We're just looking at 5 women. I don't have names of 5 women. The Bnei Slafchad was Chagla, Milka, Noah, Tirza, whatever. They each have 2 sons. No, they each have 2 sons. Each of these women have 2 sons. One of the sons stays in the house, right? One of them mixes in the nursery. So the ones that were the suffix, all 5 of those sons that were from 5 different mothers, they're mixed up in the nursery, and they ended up going to school, and they ended up getting married, and then they all passed away. So now the individual sons that were left in the family house, because we knew the vadais, we knew who they are, they want to come and do yibam on the wives of the brothers. Well, there's a problem because we don't know who is which wife of which. We don't know who the brothers are, so therefore we don't know which wife it is. So what you do is you do chalitza first on this wife by all 4 of the vadais, and then the last one is either he's the correct one or he's not the correct one, but it doesn't matter because the correct one has already done it. Because there's only 5 possibilities, and 4 of them are done. So he's the last one. Okay. This is sort of like a riddle. They say if you have 2 piles of socks, one is white and one is black. A pile white, but it's dark in the room. No.
How do you know?
No, it's all mixed up. You have white socks and black socks all mixed up.
Yeah.
And so you need to go, how many should you take to be sure that you have a pair?
It's just the same logic.
It's 3, because once you have.
No, right, yeah, 3.
It's the same logic as what's used in Torah rules when there are distinct pieces of meat that get mixed up.
There is something like this over there that was like a miman of shach. Either it's the right one or it's not the right one. Something like that. Okay. Then the Mishnah goes on. It says, "Who v'shleisha chaltzin le'achas v'echem miyabim." Remember, we had one brother, one vadai that just got married. Mazel tov. He did yibam. Vadai is the definite, the one that we know who he is.
Oh,
It's the opposite of suffix.
Hmm.
Suffix is the doubt. So this vadai, together with 3 other brothers, do chalitza on the next wife. And then the 5th brother does, so it's 1 plus 3 is 4. The 5th one will then do yibam. Nimtzu, what comes out is that arba chalitzes v'yibam l'chol achas v'achas. Each of these wives is going to get 4 chalitzas. That's a lot of spitting. And 1 yibam. That's it. The last one is going to do yibam. Okay, the Gemara says, "V'dafka mechlatz v'hada yivumi." So first we need to do chalitza and then yibam. Aval yivumi bereisha, you can't do yibam first. Why? The kapaga b'yibam b'shuk, because you have that basic problem, is that this woman did not do chalitza yet.
So we learned that police can be done with this or something.
Yeah, that's the idea. The chalitza can be done b'safek, and you can do a lot of them b'safek. You can do. The Gemara says, "Ma'yihu b'shleisha chaltzim lachas." Why is it relevant that him and the one that just did yibam is one of the 3 that do chalitza on the next one? Well, these women were not related. They're not sisters or something that you have any confusion here of any sort. Just let's take a look at the answer. You'll get the idea. The leitem alivim ninu chad lekulu ala kol chad v'chad miyam chad edil misram alediday. Mar sets this up very interesting. So the truth is that all 4, we could have set up these 4 brothers with the wives, and they could have done 4 brothers with the 5 wives. They could have done chalitza on all of them in one shot. It comes along one more brother and marries all 5. One of them is the one that he's supposed to marry. And the other ones, he's just marrying the Yevamos Daf. Could have done it like that. But the Gemara says that we don't want them to do that. Why? Not because we don't want them to have 5 wives. Where it says that we want that the possibility of maybe each one is going to end up getting the one that was appropriate for him. There is a chance. I mean, I don't know how to do those numbers, but there is a chance that it's a good roll of dice. You got every single one, got the one that was, at least we want that possibility.
Right.
If you don't do it like that, then there is no possibility. There's only one. 1 in 120, is that how you do it? Oh, really? Is that what it is? You go down, it's not factorial or something, like you work your way up. Okay. I didn't go to school. So, Miktsas and Achen, Miktsas and Shein Achen. Achen Cholzen, Shein Achen Miyabin. We have this cryptic statement.
Why don't we do 1 yibum and 4 chalitzas?
For each one.
Yeah.
For each one of those wives.
Yeah. Why do they have to do the 5 yibums? Why can't he just do 1 yibum and 4 chalitzas?
Yeah. Well, there's 5 women there,
And each one does that, so to say.
and each one is going to do 4 chalitzas and 1 yibum.
Right.
So that's actually what we're doing. But we don't want to do is 1 yibum from 1 brother to all of them, marrying 5 women. That's what we don't want.
Right. Okay.
Because we want to make it that the odds are possible that each brother is actually marrying the right wife, that could have been the real one. Yeah. Okay, so now let's say, let me just give you the words of this cryptic statement, then we'll have the shot afterwards. If some of them are brothers and some are not brothers, so the brothers do chalitza, and the one that aren't brothers do yibum. Again, these guys are not related. These 5 women that had 5 children that are all mixed up. My kamar, what does this mean? Amar Rav Safra Hachi kamar. Rav Safra says this is what it means. Miktsasan achen min ha'av, miktsasan achen min ha'im. Okay, if some of these brothers if some of these men would be brothers from the mother, not from the father. Now, Yibam only works from brothers from the father. So, Achen min ha'im cholten, v'achen min ha'av miyavmin. Then the brothers from the mother have some brothers in there that are also from the father. So they don't know who's who. That's the whole problem. It's all mixed up. So they have to do chalitza on everyone. Why can't they do yibam? Because they're not allowed to do yibam on the brother from the mother, on the brother's wife. From that, if it's only the wife of his brother from his mother, that they can't do yibam. Yibam doesn't work like that. Yibam is only the paternal brother's wife. Paternal brother passed away, so then they do yibam on the wife. But here, one of them is not a paternal brother. One of them is a maternal brother. So he can't do yibam. Well, he doesn't know who's who in this mix. He may end up marrying the one that he's not allowed to marry. Okay. Rashi goes through some nice complicated things. And who's who? There's Ruvain that marries Chana and also marries Rachel. And Rachel has another husband that's Boaz, and Boaz had another son. And then there was Yosef and all these women, and related to this and that, and it comes out basically the mother, the maternal brothers have a little bit of a problem in here. Okay. Miktasan kayanim, miktasan she'enan kayanim. There's a problem, because a kayan cannot marry the chalutza. The woman that chalitza was performed on. So this one is not going to be able to do yibam. So it says like this: kayanim chaltzim, she'enan kayanim miyabim. The kayanim are the ones that do chalitza, and the ones that aren't kayanim can do the yibam. It's going to work out that it won't work out as perfect as we wanted it. We wanted it that maybe each one is going to really marry, but we're not going to be able to do that. Miktasan kayanim, miktasan achen min ha'im. This is all the possible problems. Half of them are kayanim, and half of them have brothers from the mother in the mix. So if that's the case, there's going to be no yibam here. It's only going to be chalitza. See?
Another complication. His life.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
There's a suffix.
What does the suffix
It's just
kayan
not
do?
even
Do
considered.
they get any aliyah?
Well, in the old days, you could suffer from it, so you bring a carbon.
Maybe a carbon mincha, because he didn't know what to do with it.
Now he goes to the carbon, he has to figure out a workaround. He must the carbon pot.
Oh, listen, he couldn't offer up the carbon. Uh-huh. Yeah, I was at a kiddush in the Shul Bell Harbor. There was a fellow there that became a Levi. He found his parents' ksuba that said Halevi, his father. Remember this? Isaac Salver. Yeah, became a Levi. It was a kiddush. Made a kiddush. Became a Levi.
Wow.
Once in a lifetime kiddush.
His words. Scared to get married because his father was issue.
Huh. Okay. Taner Rabbanan. It's taught in a brisa. By the way, this Gemara before Miktas and Shein Nachin was also a Taner Rabbanan. I saw Taisva says the gears of Rabbeinu Chananel says it's a Taner Rabbanan means it's a brisa. The port brisa from Reb Chi and Reb Oshia. Yesh cheletz lima misafik, la'achesa misafik, labita misafik. There is possibilities where a person is going to end up doing chalitza to his mother. We got to explain the case. It's a complicated case. And there's a possibility where he does chalitza to his own sister. And there's a possibility that he does chalitza to his own daughter. Now, if you remember from the beginning, 100 blot ago, would be the first daf, those were women that would exempt the whole bunch from chalitza and from yibum. If one of those women, if a mother was in there or a daughter or a sister was in there, so there would be no chalitza at all. But because of here we're dealing with certain doubts, we're going to need to do chalitza. You'll see in a moment. How does this work? Ketzad works like this: Imay v'isha acheres, his mother and another woman. No relation. His mother and another woman. And they have two children. And then they have two more children that get mixed up. The example here that the names that Rashi gives, just to keep everything compartmentalized, is that Yaakov marries Rachel. That's easy, and they have a son Yosef. That's an easy one. Okay, but they also have another son that gets mixed up with the next family, as you'll see. Then we have Ruvain marries Chana, and they have a son Chetzrin. That's Rashi's Chetzrin. Ruvain's son is Chetzrin. So, yeah, let's switch the name for because my mother's here. So, let's say he marries Sarah. They have a son Chetzrin. So, and then they also have another son that gets mixed up. So you have these two sons now, Yosef and Chetzron, with their brothers in a mix. We don't know which one's Yosef's brother, which one's Chetzron's brother. Okay, now what happens is that Yaakov and Ruvain, which are the husbands, the fathers, they pass away. So Chetzron, which was Reuben's son, goes and marries Rachel, who was Yaakov's wife. They're not related. And then Yosef, that was Yaakov's son, goes and marries Reuben's wife, which is Sarah, we said. All right? And then they pass away. So now I have Yosef and Chetzron just passed away. And I have these two brothers that are in the mix that have to do Yibum. Well, we don't know. You see, you have to realize that one of these women is his mother, and one of them is his brother's wife. So he has to do chalitza on his mother. Follow? Okay. What happened was the son of this one, the Vadai son of this one, came and married the mother of that one. They passed away without children. Each one is going to end up doing chalitza on his mother misafik. How does it work? How's this going to work? There's charts. Charts or no? Into charts. Seems similar. His mother and another woman, they had two nekevas, two daughters. And the brothers from a different mother came from the same father. V'nasam. And they married this has to be, who's the Achayim? Achayim of who? This is the Achayim of the fathers. Yeah, that's not so clear in the Gemara. The Gemara wrote this a little cryptic. See, the example that they give over here is that there's Reuven and Kalev. These are two men. And they marry these women and they have a daughter. This one marries, this woman has a daughter, maybe. This one marries Sarah and has a daughter. And this one marries Rachel and has a daughter. Okay. Whatever the case is that these daughters get married to their uncles. The only thing is that we don't really know. These daughters get mixed up. Oh, 1 second. I may be jumping to the bita. I just jumped to the bita. I jumped cases. 1 second. The paternal but not maternal half brothers of this man and of the son of the other woman came and married them. Okay. How do you marry a sister from the same mother?
Yeah, because it doesn't matter if it's a maternal or
Right.
paternal sibling. You sure? The wife or another one gave birth to two brothers and son. It says that they perform chalitza on them. Doesn't say they get married.
It must mean that this man is not related to them. Yeah, we're talking about these two. So how does he? So why is it a sister? Oh, that's exactly. Okay. There's this fellow that has these two sisters that he has a sister and another girl that are mixed up. That's this fellow. Now this fellow had it's his sister from his mother. He cannot marry. But his brothers are not related to the sister because they come from the father. Yeah, they can marry her because they come from the father. So his two brothers go and marry these two women. One is his relative and one is not, but is confused with his relative, with his sister. So they pass away. Now he has to do Yibum. They're both his brothers. He has to do Yibum on one of them. And the other one doesn't require anything. So, because it's his sister. But
We learn that he's hustled to one.
yeah, but these are not two. But these are not two wives in a family. These are two separate households. So he ends up, because he doesn't know who is who, which one. So he has to do chalitza to his sister. Okay. Now we go to the case of.
He doesn't know it's his sister, just one.
Right, he doesn't know which one is his sister. Now we go to the case of Bita. Bita misavikated Ishtay v'isha acher she'yelda shtei nekeves b'machve. His wife and another woman, they gave birth to daughters. Okay. Now, the brothers of the fathers come along and they marry their nieces. So that's acceptable. Now, did they actually marry their nieces? How are we supposed to know? We don't know which one is which. So they married the two girls. It may be the niece, may not be the niece. Doesn't matter. That's not our issue. The problem is that they passed away. Now, each of them need to do chalitza. Let's say, what are the names here? Let's say Reuven's brother is the one that married Kalev's daughter. It was Reuven and Kalev. And they have brothers. And they marry these daughters that are mixed up. Let's say Reuven's brother married Kalev's daughter. Well, that's a perfect case for Yibam. His brother passed away. Reuven has to come in and do Yibam. But let's say he married his own daughter. Not Reuven's daughter. He married his niece. So Reuven cannot do Yibam for his niece. So what does he do? He has to end up doing chalitza on both of these, because Kalev's brother did the same thing, married one of these girls that he doesn't know who it is. Yeah. Oops. Okay. So he ends up doing chalitza to his daughter. Yeah. Okay. Tanya. It's possible that a man and a woman can give birth to 5 different nations. Kate said, how does this work? Yisrael shalakach eved v'shivcha min hashuk. V'lehen shnei banim. If he buys a slave and a maidservant from the marketplace, and they already have 2 children.
What's the difference between slave and maidservant?
The male and the female.
That's it.
Yeah.
They're both slaves.
Both slaves. What was the words? Yes.
A goose and a gander. Goose is, I don't know, one's a male, one's a female. For a goose.
Oh, for a goose. Okay. A doe and a deer. So, okay.
Yeah, the other ones, there are other ones like that. U, EW, E, something.
Yeah, you got to be careful with these because some of them can become curse words. They're different animals. Okay. So, yeah, and they have 2 sons. V'niskayar echad mehem. One of the sons converts. He's not they're not slaves, by the way. That's the interesting thing over here. That the children of the slaves in the non-Jewish world are not necessarily slaves. No, they're just free people. They're just slaves, are the slaves. If they're owned by Jews, then the children are slaves as well. But anyway, these were independent people, and one of them converts. Nimtze echad ger v'echad eved kechavim. Hit bilan l'shem avdas. He took the slave and the maidservant, and he put them in the mikveh to convert them to become slaves. they're not really converted. They're halfway converted. It's Tefillah L'Shem Avdos. Okay, so now they're Evet Kanani. And they have relations. They have a child. Harikan Ger. So far, how many children do they have? 3. One of them was a Ger. One is an Ovid Kechavim. He didn't convert yet. And then one of them is an Evet. The new baby is an Evet. Because the parents are Avadim, and when they have a child, the child becomes an Evet. Shichrer as a shifcha, he frees the maidservant. Now she's fully Jewish. Ubal ha'evet, but the Evet, which is her husband, still not Jewish, lives with her. Now they have a child. Well, that's a Jewish woman with a non-Jewish man. So Harikan Ger, so far their children are the following, 4 children. The Ger was the first one that converted. They have the Ovid Kechavim, he never converted. That's the other son. Then you have the Evet, that's the son that they had right away. And then you have the Mamzer, that's the son that they had after the mother converted. And we're following the opinion that if a non-Jewish father with a Jewish mother have a child, the child's a Mamzer. We don't hold like that, but there was an opinion earlier in the Gemara that Goy, Habal, Bas Yisrael, the Havlad Mamzer. There was that opinion. Shicher Shnayim.
Oh, that's a Jew having a child with a non-Jew. Just that simply, or does that have to be an Evet?
No, it doesn't have to be
No,
an Evet.
just
That was just an example.
okay.
Let's say he frees the Evet. Risi and Zelazah, and now they marry. So Harikan Ger, Vavid Kechavim, the Evet, Mamzer Yisrael. Now their child is a regular Yisrael. So in this one family, talking about like a complex group of children. So you have a regular Ger, you have a regular non-Jew, you have an Evet, you have a Mamzer, and you have a Yisrael. Yeah, it's a lot of different schools. It's a lot of carpooling. You have to send them to different. Yeah. Okay. The Gemara says, "My kamashmalan." What's the chiddush? So what? It says, well, the chiddush is blood mamzer. Not everyone holds of that. So we have a chiddush over here that the child is a mamzer. Taner Rabbanan. Stored in a brayso yesh meicher sav l'hagvasim miksubasa. There's a possibility that a person has to sell his father to get the ksuba.
Sell his father. What?
To collect the ksuba for his mother.
You mean pay, not sell?
No,
His
you'll
father
see.
gets-
No, to sell, you'll see.
What if he says no?
Ketzad.
Sorry,
How is this? Yisrael lakach eved v'shivcha min hashuk v'lehem ben. If a person buys an eved and a shivcha from the marketplace, a slave and a maidservant, and they have a son. Now that son is not a slave. Son is like a regular non-Jew. V'shichrer hashivcha v'nasa. He frees the maidservant and he himself marries her. V'amad v'kasav kol nechasav lebana. And he writes, all of his possessions go to her son. In this marriage, they have a son. They have a son. She had a son previously from the slave that's still a slave. He just took he just took the girl. He just took the wife. That doesn't sound nice. He left the husband as a regular slave.
Son,
And the son was somewhere, wherever.
he's free,
He's free.
but he's a Gentile.
Right. He's a Gentile. Nimtza, what comes out is if this person dies, so when he writes Kol Nechasav, all of his possessions belong to his son, the son now owns his father as a slave.
Wow.
So in order to give his mother the ksuba, he sells his father to give his mother the ksuba. He owns his father as a slave. Micah Mashmalan, what's the chiddush? Okay, I mean that's the story. So it says Kula Reb Meir. It's Reb Meir, and it's telling us the chiddush is that metaltalin, movable objects, are subjugated, are meshubed. They have a lien on them for the ksuba. Usually, you say property has a lien on it. Here we're saying that metaltali also has. Why? Because the slave is going for the. If you want, you can say hakamashman abdakam karkaidam. You could say it the other way. You could say that a slave is considered like property, and property is meshubed to the ksuba. Land is meshubed to the ksuba. Okay. Let's start the Mishnah. What's going on here? The Isha Shenesara Vlada Bevlad Kalasa. A woman that her child was mixed up with the child of her daughter-in-law. Remember that Glockel? Glockel of Hamlet? When she and her daughter, or she and her daughter-in-law that had children at the same time, and they got mixed up. And it was like a big shout in the middle of the night when the nurse had brought the wrong baby to say, this is not the right one. Okay. Anyway, Higdilo Ataruvas V'Nasan Nashim. The mixture, they grew up and they got married. Umesu. And then they passed away. These sons. Bnei Hakala Cholzen V'Lemi Yavmin. The sons of the Kala, not the one that passed away, of course, the ones that we know belong to the daughter-in-law, her sons can only do chalitza, they can't do yibam. Why? Because it could be it's his brother-in-law, which is good. His sister-in-law is his brother's wife. And it could be that it's his uncle's wife. Remember? Because the mother-in-law also had a child at that time, which would mean that that's the uncle of these children. Neaskena, however, the other children of the mother, not the daughter-in-law, of the mother, they can do either one. Why? There's no problem. Then is he allowed to marry his brother's his nephew's wife? Is a nephew's wife permissible? Yeah, whatever the case is. Okay. Mesu Aksherim. Let's say it was the other way. Not the ones that were mixed up passed away, but the ones, the Ksherim over here must mean Vadai, the ones that we knew who they were.
Kosher on slaughter.
Yeah. So then these two children, one from the daughter-in-law and one from the mother-in-law, one from the mother, the children from them, they're not going to do Yibam at all. Why? Could be it's we don't know who's who. This could be doing chalitza on his uncle, on his uncle's wife, which he's not allowed to marry, his father's brother's wife. Okay, I'm sorry, that's only Livnei Azkena. To those, but however, to the Livnei Akala, echad cheletz v'echad miyabim. One of them would do chalitza, and the other one would do could do yibam. Why? Either this one is the uncle, which is allowed to marry the wife of the nephew, or it's actually the brother-in-law, which has the mitzvah of yibam. Kehenes shenesarav blood bevlad shivchasa. Let's say well, they have quite a complicated picture here. Okay. Why are they making it so complicated? Does it need to be so complicated? It looks so complicated. If there is a woman that comes from a is it because she's married, or is it because must be because she's married. She's married to a Kayan. And the children get mixed up. Her and a maidservant. They could eat truma because both the Kayan's wives and the children and the slaves are allowed to eat truma. And they can also receive one, and they receive one share in the Gairan. Okay. Yeah, let's see what it means. Let's see. Question is if we'll see in the Gemara. The Gemara is going to discuss certain people that you're not supposed to give them from that location. Remember, we had a discussion about the woman wasn't supposed to go there, be or
She went to the mill.
To the mill, right?
To get the truma that's due the child with the coffee.
Right. Now, in this case, also, obviously it's a boy. They can't become tamei. If it's a girl, then they don't have this prohibition. Vein nice and nashim. This is what you were talking about, the problems of a Suffolk kayan. Ve'ena nice and nashim. They can't marry women. Bein ksheres, bein psulis. Can't marry a slave. Right? We don't know who's who are they supposed to marry. There's no one in the middle here that both of them are eligible to. If they free them, if they grow up and they get freed, why do they have to grow up? Can you free them now? Whatever the case is, then they can marry women that would be eligible to kahuna. Why do they need to be eligible to the kahuna if he's a slave? Because maybe he's not a slave, maybe he's a kayan. So he needs to marry someone that's eligible. And ve'ena metamim lemesim. This is what we're talking about when they grow up. But you can't give them malchus if they do become tummy. They also can't eat. They can't eat truma because one of them isn't a kayan. This is because they were freed. They don't have to pay the karen v'chaimish because you have no proof that he's not a kayan. Obviously, they can't get it from the mill. And they can sell their own truma. That means that when they separate truma, they don't have to give it because maybe it's a kayan, so you can actually hold on to it. The inan chalkim bekachim is vadam shalahem means that they keep the money because he's potentially, theoretically, he's a kayan. Is a doubt, so they can't prove that he's not, so they don't take the money. They don't get a share of the karbanis, and you don't give them the karbanis. However, when they do bring a karban, the hide stays with them. You can't extract it from them. But the gifts that are given to the kayan, they can keep. What do you do with his firstborn? So it has to get a mum, and they keep it. And they put on them the chumras of both a kayan and a Yisrael. Why? What's the chumrah of a Yisrael? What's the chumrah of Yisrael? I don't know. The Gemara is going to explain. Okay, let's leave it over here.